And update done. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio, the live stream, and the replay version if you're watching or listening later. I got to tell you, it's been a little while since we talked about a tech update or a security breach and believe me, I'm the last guy in the world that likes to be first and get the Apple update. You know, a lot of us have iPhones. Not everybody, but a lot of us. And Apple actually admitted this years ago that they send out the first update for the early adopters, and they find out what the bugs are, and then they send out a fix later. And so I would always wait. This time around, it's a little bit different from a very credible source, who I'll tell you who that is in just a second. You should get, if you're on an iPhone, you should get the new iOS update because there's a massive security breach, apparently. So talk about that as well. Ironically enough, from that same source, he had a guest on yesterday talking about election interference regarding foreign countries. Why do I think it's true? Because President Trump just reposted the information he was talking about. I think something big is about to happen. And weirdly enough, it's all related to the SAVE Act. Anyway, we'll get to that too. You may not be thinking that the New York City tax hike, which was announced yesterday, the big plans from Mamdani, boy, that didn't take long. Didn't plow the streets, and now he's raising your taxes. New York, good job. It does affect you, whether you're in Florida or Texas or North Carolina, wherever you are. Oh, it affects you. But Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, you know, Mr. Wonderful, the bald guy, he had an epic reaction to this yesterday. It was fantastic. I think he made the CNN panelists cry. And I hate to do this to you midweek, but I think it's worth it. For comedic effect only. The cackling idiots on The View. That's right, I know, The View. I know you're not watching The View, I'm not either, but this clip is so good. Apparently, Whoopi Goldberg is trying to weasel her way off the Epstein list because she's mentioned now. This after literally years. The people on The View going, release the files. Now they're saying, whoa, anybody can be in it. It's just great. Let's just get right to it. Thanks for finding me again. I appreciate you. Oh, by the way, the X update. Apparently you have to click on the profile picture for anybody that's live streaming now. I don't know. It's just stupid. Elon, I thank you for buying Twitter and turning it into X and saving free speech. But can you please fix this? Please? Otherwise, find the audio podcast later on when I post it. All right, Dan Bongino. This is great. Dan Bongino is fantastic, and he's especially fantastic now because he's fresh off his FBI role, right? So he's got all that intel and the recent happenings and all the stuff that he can at least talk about. But he also is back on radio and podcasting, so he's got all this content that we can share. So it's great. Dan Bongino is great these days. And what he talked about yesterday was fascinating. Now, I don't listen to everybody that tries to scare you into, get the iOS update. It's really important. And all the tech nerds trying to get clicks. This is Dan Bongino with some inside baseball information with a warning for you. This is actually a guy to listen to.
By the way, if you have an iPhone, very critical public service announcement from the DB show. Update your iOS. Major update from Apple. They had some kind of spyware infiltration, some major attack. Make sure you update your phone. I did it this morning. Haven't seen from the other side the threats. It's a big deal. You can look it up. But there was some Apple spyware update. Some of the stuff they can do out there with this new technology is absolutely incredible. Make sure you update it.
Most important thing he said there was, having seen it from the other side, like I said, he's fresh off his FBI role, and now he's talking about this kind of stuff. It matters. Get the iOS update. And again, I'm usually the guy who's last to get an update on anything because it's like, I don't want to get the bugs. They actually do that. But this is worth doing it to make sure you're... And so many people... I know a lot of people have Samsung, but the majority of the country is still on Apple and carrying these things around everywhere. And how much personal data is on your phone now? It's worth it to update it. Trust me on this one. The same show, thank you, Dan, for being back on the air. The same show had a fascinating interview yesterday. I've talked about this guy before. John Solomon. Just the News, his program. He's one of these reporters, an actual journalist that he's right about almost everything. He's kind of known as the guy who's got the best sources for at least what's happening on the conservative side of things. Liberals as well, but he's almost accurate on everything. And he had what I'm going to classify this as a bombshell yesterday. It's tied into he started talking about the SAVE Act. Dan Bongino, same show, was asking John Solomon about the SAVE Act. Where are we? What's going on? What is taking so long? We've got the votes. What's happening? He started talking about that, but then he went into something fascinating. John Solomon started talking about The pressure that President Trump is building now to use for these lazy, useless Republican senators who won't pass the SAVE Act, even though the whole country, even Democrats, want it. And it involves election interference. Not so surprising. According to John Solomon, it involves election interference from foreign entities. And President Trump is going to use this. Now, before I play John Solomon, remember just what happened, week before last. Remember the Fulton County, they called it, what did they call it? A break-in, the Democrats called it, for the election warehouses to get those ballots. Remember that? When really they scooped up the ballots from there. And then they did the same thing in Arizona last week that was a little bit quieter. Who was on scene for both? You remember? Remember who was there watching? Tulsi Gabbard. Let's remember Tulsi Gabbard's role, Director of National Intelligence. That sort of implies what John Solomon's talking about here with foreign interference. This may be the stick that President Trump is going to use for leverage to get people to pass this. Here's what John Solomon said. It's worth a listen. It's fascinating.
The American people are going to be there. Here's what I think is going to happen, Dan, and I think you probably know some of this because you had a foresight into some of the things that the Bureau now knows that was kept from the American public. I think Donald Trump is going to change the narrative in America. I think he's going to change some senators' minds, and he's going to do it by revealing some of the things that Chris Wray and that Chris Krebs and other major officials who were in charge of the integrity of our elections and who told us it was a perfect election in 2020. He's going to start revealing some of the intelligence that was kept from the American people. And we're going to see that our foreign adversaries have monkeyed with our system more than we knew, more than those driver's licenses coming into Chicago that you helped get all of us to understand about a few months ago, about China sending fake driver's licenses to help Joe Biden in. There are going to be significant efforts by foreign powers, some friends, some enemies, that were trying to meddle in the system, and they got pretty far down that path. And I think when senators realized their state could have been targeted, when senators realized that the intention of the identities of some of their voters might have been assumed, I think there's going to be a different debate in America. And I think if the president takes the time to educate people and show them that maybe the stories we got from the last leadership weren't true, I think he's going to pick off the votes. And then the American people are going to put some pressure on John Thune, and they're going to surgically implant a stiff back, and he's going to change that filibuster for this particular thing, make it a standing filibuster, make the Democrats talk till they drop, and then we'll get a vote in the summer.
Why do I believe that? First of all, from John Solomon, he's right about almost everything, and that's the guy with the sources. That's the guy that all of the politicians actually go to when they want something to get out there. And secondly, President Trump last night reposted on Truth, and then it picked up on X exactly what he was talking about. Boy, we're about to get some bombshell news about foreign election interference. And then watch all these Republican senators, and maybe even a couple of the Democrats, scurry to pass the SAVE Act. Oh, we want secure elections now. No, we do. Who knows? Speaking of weasels, well, this didn't take long. Good job, New York City. Didn't take long at all. Well, you just lived through a winter where your streets weren't plowed. That was fantastic. Saw that firsthand, by the way. That was a mess, a literal mess. And now, in record time, all of the tax hikes that everybody warned you about are actually happening. Now, for all the rest of us, it would be really easy to sit back and say, you idiots. But it does affect you. It affects me. It affects you. It affects everybody because of the exodus, which is about to happen and has already happened in many cases. But anyway, here's the announcement yesterday from Mayor Mamdani. Well, because the governor, Albany isn't giving us what we want, so we're going to have to raise your property taxes. All right, so that means property owners raise rents. That means people aren't likely to rent again, and they move out. And then here's
what we'd rather do is ensure that they remain as they are, so that the city can be on firm financial footing. However, in order to get to this point of closing the gap on both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years.
What's truly incredible. I'm flabbergasted by this, that there are actual New York City voters going, what? Who didn't think this was coming? Like, he said he was going to do it. You knew that this was going to happen. What is your deal? Why are you so dense? Anyway, Kevin O'Leary had a fantastic reaction to this and he's talked about what I was just saying there, the exodus, which does affect you. I don't care whether you're in Florida or South Carolina or North Carolina or Tennessee or Texas or any other state in the country, the exodus out of New York does affect you. I know it's easy to sit back and laugh because they are idiots and say, you elected this, you fools. But here's where it affects you. They're coming. They're already in Florida. There's some now. I can testify to that. They're already throughout different places of the country. Massachusetts has the largest exodus of any of the states. In fact, they're going to lose a congressional seat, they think. So is New York, and then some other northeastern states. All of this stuff that's happening here with these blue states and cities, it does affect you. There's a guy who put this so well yesterday, actually last night, one of the panelists on one of those CNN panels. You know, they always have like a token conservative on there, like Scott Jennings, or right here, the bald guy, Mr. Wonderful from The View, to talk about this kind of stuff. And they all gang up on him. He made the best points, though, and he just said, you're all you're absolute idiots. And he said it so well.
So I guess he's asking, what's a 2% tax increase on a multimillionaire?
If you're already the highest tax jurisdiction in America, it's a massive tax. You know, what I love about this guy, and I'm giving him credit, he goes big. He goes big, and he's got a fantastic social media team. This is great. This is bat poo-poo crazy, what he is proposing. And probably sometime next year, within 12 to 18 months, I will meet him in Miami and give him Real Estate Agent of the Year award. Because I'm not happy with what's happening. I can't get across the bridge anymore. I live in Miami Beach. Everybody from New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts is moving into my neighborhood. I'm pissed off. And this guy's just doing more of it. What he's proposing is beyond insane, but I love it.
You are
now,
very
I'm
dramatic.
like everybody else. Listen, you guys live here. You're not paying your fair share.
I don't live here.
You've got to pay 110%. That's the right thing to do. Because he's not cutting spending. He's just going to tax you into oblivion.
Isn't it classic? He like lives it. He understands it. He actually understands business and the economy, and they're laughing at him. You're so they'll be affected too. Believe me, they will. The entire country will be affected by this because this is what you voted in, and this is what you have. It's classic. It's absolutely classic. But what's the good news? I always try to find the positive in all of this. You go through the crap, you see what's bad, what's negative, and all this stuff. The end result is what I said there before I played that clip. They're losing congressional seats. Those absolute fools on that CNN panel last night don't understand that. They don't care. Like she even said that, well, I don't live here. She doesn't care. She just pushes all this propaganda because she's told to by the Democrats. Doesn't care how it affects people there. Doesn't affect how it affects people anywhere. They're just taking their cash and running. But here's what else happens. They lose power. That state and city is losing power. Massachusetts is losing power. All of these blue states, Virginia will eventually too. And yeah, it kind of sucks, and you always hope that they don't come to the red states and vote that crap in like they did and ruin their own cities and states. You hope not. But the focus is becoming all the free states, let's call them. Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Florida, Georgia to a certain extent, but not completely. Arizona, if they can fix their elections. The country is changing because of this kind of stuff. It's going to take a while to settle it down. And God, I wish they were doing the census now because it's going to look a lot different before 2020 was. It's a completely different looking country. But if you're in the right spot for the states that are going to have all the power and the cities that are going to have the power, if you're listening to me and you got out of those places because it's a different country. Speaking of idiots, on television, there's no more dumb people than the women on The View. You know this. Obviously, and I don't watch The View either. I know you don't. But this clip is too good not to share. I hate to do this to you, and I know it's tough to listen to, but I have to share this to you because this is just so classic. Now, there are some people who know that they're full of crap. Like that panel on CNN we were just talking about with Kevin O'Leary. They know the deal. They know what's a bunch of crap, and they know that they're pushing that out there. But then you have people like a lot of the people on MSNBC, but also The View. They really are dumb enough not to understand what hypocrites they are. They're really not. Now I'm going to play. So here's the news that happened yesterday. So apparently, with more release of the here we go, the Epstein files. Anybody that's mentioned, any name out there, because of text conversations are now being released, any name is now considered in the Epstein files. It's what they try to do to Trump, right? He's in the Epstein files hundreds of thousands of times because they were trying to get to him. Now we know that he was the guy that turned in Epstein, kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago, and contacted Palm Beach County authorities about how creepy the guy is. If anything, he was exonerated. But there's other names that are popping up in the Epstein files because this is a closed circle. There's not a lot of billionaires. There's not a lot of media people. They all know each other. They do, and they try to get to each other. So, of course, they would wind up in text messages. Well, now, Whoopi Goldberg from The View is on the defensive to try to... She's trying to weasel her name out of the Epstein files and tell everybody, look, just because your name's listed, that doesn't mean you're part of this whole thing. But here's the problem. For months, it might have been, well, I'll call it years, these cackling fools on The View were saying what? Release the files, release the files, release the files. He's in the files. Well, now that one of them is mentioned in the files, now it's, whoa, anybody can be mentioned. Let's put some nuance on this. Here's a little clip that exemplifies this perfectly. Here's The View cackling for months and literally years on end about releasing the files. And then all of a sudden, the tone changes when Whoopi is mentioned in it. This is perfect.
Release the damn files and release them now. Release everything.
If this does not implicate Donald Trump, why wouldn't you say release everything?
They absolutely have to show us what they're all hiding.
If there's nothing to hide, release it all.
But all of that information is out there. Why not just put it to rest and say, release the list?
Because, they should just say, listen, this is what it is. Do you want...
All right. That's before. That's what you all knew The View was doing. Release the files. Epstein, Trump's in there. Get him. Release the files. Uh-oh. Now they want to slow. Now they want to tap the brakes on all that because Whoopi is trying to weasel her name off this. And now she's trying to add some nuance to the conversation that she should have done last year, maybe even before that. Say, whoa. They're mentioning me, but hold on a second. Anybody can be in these files. And then you have, well, anyway, you got to listen to these fools.
For your G2.
Okay. And it looks like they said no thanks.
Yeah.
So in other words, anybody can be on this list.
Well, this is my point, because I'm telling you, when I tell you people are trying to turn me into, I wasn't his girlfriend. You used to have facts.
Oh, my God. They have Joy Behar. Anybody can be in the files. And then she follows that up by saying, Trump's in it thousands of times. She just contradicted herself. Now they want facts. Now, hold on a second. Now they want to slow it down because one of them is mentioned. They're just such hypocrites. Here's a really scary thing. They're too dumb to understand how hypocritical they are. They're too dumb to understand how hypocritical they actually are. And this is a stupid show for stupid people. But there you go. But now you can say it. They've said for years, Trump's in the Epstein files. So anybody says that to you at a cocktail party or at work, you say, so is Whoopi. It's the same comparison. Why not? Why not use it? Oh, boy. All right. Hopefully I won't have to play anything from The View for a long time. It was just too good not to share. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you, especially on X, because you got to work harder to find live streams now, apparently. I don't know. You got to go by the profile picture, and it's hidden behind there. It's hard to repost. I'm mad at you, Elon. Thanks for saving free speech, but fix the live stream thing, would you? Also on Facebook and on YouTube and the audio podcast, wherever you like to get those, and the replay, if you're listening and watching later on. It's Wednesday. Make it a wicked awesome midweek. I'll talk to you tomorrow.